After all of the back and forth between Keith one time, don't duck me son, Thurman, and Errol the True Spence, Keith Thurman still gives Errol the True Spence his praise and talks very highly of him. Before we get into this next video, make sure you smash on my like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already a sub to the channel. So your boy Keith one time, don't duck me son, Thurman, he back on the scene again. And we know how Keith Thurman do. He on the scene, then he disappear, then he back on the scene, and then he disappear again. But hopefully Keith Thurman is back on the scene for good now. Some great news came out for Keith Thurman today that he will be fighting Shawn Porter in a rematch this summer. Now, this is a fight that was an epic fight, fight of the year back in 2016. I think they first fought, and it was a hell of a fight. People have been waiting for this rematch for a long time. I didn't think that we was personally ever going to get this rematch, but, I'm excited to hear this news today. Now, with that being said, Keith Thurman, he just did an interview with Nestor Gibbs, and you could tell Keith Thurman, he been training a little bit. He was in the gym training when he did the interview. And he gave his take on Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. Now, we all know that Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, they not the best of friends, to say the least. Errol Spence, he just did an interview and he let the world know that he does not like Keith Thurman. That if it's one fighter in all the boxing that he don't like, it's Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman just goofy. He said Keith Thurman just get under his skin and he can't even stand to hear him talk or see his face. And he said he will absolutely never give Keith Thurman the opportunity to fight him. But that's a whole different story in itself. With all of that being said, Keith Thurman, he always keep it real on Errol Spence when he has to break down Errol Spence and the fighter that he is. So he gave his take on the upcoming fight that's going to happen in August with Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. And Keith Thurman, he could have shitted on Errol Spence like Danny Garcia used to do. Yeah, let's not act like that. Danny Garcia, back before he fought Errol Spence, for years and years, he talked shit about Errol Spence, saying that it was nothing special about him. He wasn't that good of a fighter and yada, 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 this and that, right? So he never gave Errol Spence his credit, and Errol Spence had to beat the credit, right? He had to beat it out of Danny Garcia to get his credit from him, right? And then we hear guys like Tim Bradley hating on him. Oh yeah, Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford is always hating on Errol Spence. Trying to downplay his skills, act like he not all of that. But with that being said, Keith Thurman, if it's anybody that could take that route against Errol Spence because they really don't like each other, Errol Spence has said a lot of things about Keith Thurman. And rightfully so. Errol Spence feels some type of way about Keith Thurman ducking him for years and years, right? But anyway, like I said, with all that being said, Keith Thurman, he could have took the low route and, not praise Errol Spence and try to downplay Errol Spence and act like he's not all that, but he didn't. So he was asked about the fight between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. And Keith Thurman, he first talked about his fight with Manny Pacquiao, and he said that he studied his fight with Manny Pacquiao, and he said that he thinks that he fell about 15 punches short of winning that fight. He said, so when you fight Manny Pacquiao, you definitely have to be on your A game, and you definitely have to have your punch output up to the highest level, because we all know that Manny Pacquiao is a fighter that throws a lot of punches. He fights at a high value, right? In and out, jumping in and out, throwing shots from all different angles, right? So he talks about Spence and Manny Pacquiao, and he talks about how he sees that fight going. So Keith Thurman says that Errol Spence is a fighter that has a very nice right hook to the head and to the body, and he follows it up very well with the left hook. He said that, his range and his jab, he knows how to use that very effectively, and he said that he thinks that's going to affect Manny Pacquiao, right? He says, and Errol Spence is also a fighter that if he need to bring the dog out of him, if he need to bring his dog out and walk you down, that he sees Errol Spence bringing the dog out and walking Manny Pacquiao down, right? But he says that, Manny Pacquiao does have a chance in winning this fight if Manny Pacquiao makes Errol Spence fight his fight. He said, but pretty much that's the only chance he see Manny Pacquiao having, right? And he was also asked about Errol Spence when Errol Spence said that he was only at 75 to 80% against Danny Garcia. Now, this is another chance that Keith Thurman could have took the low road and, said that Errol Spence was making excuses, or he could have just said anything. But Keith Thurman kept it 100, and he said, yeah, I absolutely believe that he wasn't at 100% when he fought Danny Garcia. So, I fuck with Keith Thurman. I don't like some of the shit that how he moves, how when he was ducking Errol Spence. But the reason I fuck with Keith Thurman is Keith Thurman always gonna keep it real. Sometimes he keep it so real he make his own self look bad, right? You know what I'm saying? One thing you can't say about Keith Thurman is that Keith Thurman don't keep it 100 at all times. Even when he was ducking Errol Spence, he was telling people straight up, like, look, it's a get back year. I'm not gonna fight him. It's a get back year. He wasn't trying to act like he was going to fight him or telling the world like, yeah, I'm going to fight him, and then coming back and saying, oh, we tried to make it, but Errol Spence was asking for too much money. He was pricing himself out. He didn't do all of that. He just told y'all straight up, I'm not going to fight him right now. It's a get back year. I think that Errol Spence is the top of the elite at welterweight, and I'm going to save that fight for the next year when I get all the way back. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't like it myself, but you got to respect it, right? You got to respect it because at this day and age, fighters not keeping it real. They making a million excuses not to fight the opponent that the fans want to see them fight. But then they trying to put it on the opponent that want the fight. They trying to flip the switch. And he don't do that. That's one thing I do like about Keith Thurman. He keeps it 100. And you can tell when you hear Keith Thurman talk. He's very smart. He broke down Errol Spence, what he does well, right? And you could tell that he's been watching Errol Spence and studying Errol Spence for a long time because I think that this is a fight that Keith Thurman won't. Keith Thurman feels some type of way about the whole world and all of the boxing fans, saying that he was scared of Errol Spence and talking about for years how he ducked Errol Spence. I think Keith Thurman feels some type of way about that, in the competitive nature in Keith Thurman makes him want to get in the ring and maybe show people that, hey, I'm not scared of him. And also it is because Keith Thurman need a big fight like that. Errol Spence is the big fish now and he want a big payday. So I think it's a little bit of both. You feel me? You want to keep it real, just talk about it. I think it's a little bit of both. But with all of that being said, Keith Thurman, he still gave praise to Errol Spence, and he said that he think Errol Spence is going to walk him down, that he's a world-class southpaw, and he picking Errol Spence to beat Manny Pacquiao. Even after Manny Pacquiao gave Keith Thurman his first ever loss and took his belt. So, like I said, be on the lookout for more news with this Keith Thurman and Sean Porter fight. And let me know what y'all think about what Keith Thurman had to say. Leave a comment in the comment section. Make sure that you hit the like button, sub to the channel. There you go, talking that boxing again, and I'm gone.
You niggas is whack. I should mumble my last bar.